Welcome to Books Arena. Today, we begin an exciting journey with one of the most famous and practical books ever written on communication and relationships: How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book is a timeless guide to improving your social skills, building genuine connections, and influencing others positively without manipulation. It has helped millions of people around the world, from business leaders to students, to improve their personal and professional lives. Dale Carnegie shows us that success is not just about what we know or what we can do, but about how we treat others and how well we understand their feelings and desires. In the chapters ahead, you will learn simple but powerful principles that can transform the way you interact with people. Whether you want to make new friends, become a better leader, or simply create stronger relationships, this book offers practical advice you can apply every day. Get ready to discover the secrets of effective communication, sincere appreciation, and winning people's trust. Let us begin this journey into the art of human relations with Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Part 1. Success in life is often shaped by how well you relate to other people. Dale Carnegie begins his book by highlighting a simple but deep truth: people want to feel important and appreciated. This desire is fundamental to human nature. When someone criticizes us or makes us feel small, it hurts deeply, and most of us respond by withdrawing, defending ourselves, or even reacting with anger. Think for a moment about the last time someone criticized you. Maybe it was at work, in school, or even among friends. How did it make you feel? Did it inspire you to change, or did it make you want to avoid that person? Chances are, the criticism did not motivate you the way you expected. Instead, it may have caused frustration or resentment. Carnegie explains that criticizing others seldom achieves the desired effect. It wounds pride, hurts a person's sense of importance, and often makes them defensive. When you criticize, you are essentially saying, "You are wrong, and I am right." This approach makes people feel attacked, and naturally, they resist. He shares an example from history involving Abraham Lincoln, who was famous for his kindness even toward his critics. Instead of responding with harsh words or blame, Lincoln understood that criticism rarely changes hearts. He believed that if people were wrong, they could be gently guided to the right path through kindness and understanding. In real life, this lesson is vital. Whether you are a manager giving feedback, a parent teaching a child, or a friend pointing out a mistake, criticizing can push people away instead of helping them grow. So what can you do instead? Carnegie offers the powerful alternative of giving honest and sincere appreciation. Appreciation is different from flattery. Flattery is fake praise that people see through and dislike. True appreciation is recognizing and valuing the good qualities or efforts in others. Everyone wants to feel important and appreciated. When you acknowledge someone's hard work, kindness, or skill, you are feeding this deep need. For example, imagine a teacher who praises a student's effort, even if the student did not get the highest grade. That praise encourages the student to keep trying and improves confidence. In the workplace, leaders who focus on praising progress and good qualities often have teams that work harder and are more loyal. Simple words like "I appreciate your dedication" or "You did a great job on that project" can build bridges and strengthen relationships. But appreciation must be sincere. People can tell when praise is fake or exaggerated. That destroys trust. Carnegie warns against insincere flattery, which is worse than no praise at all. Instead, find something real to appreciate, no matter how small. Another important lesson in this part is the power of arousing an eager want in others. You cannot force people to do what you want by telling them they are wrong or ordering them around. Instead, you must understand their desires and appeal to what they want. Carnegie tells the story of a father who wanted his son to clean his room. Instead of commanding, the father said, "Imagine how nice it will be to have a clean room where you can find your toys easily and have more space to play." By showing the boy what he would gain, the father sparked the boy's interest and willingness. This approach works everywhere. When you ask a colleague to help on a project, instead of saying "You must do this," you could say, "If you help with this, it will give you a chance to learn new skills and impress the boss." People respond when they see a benefit for themselves. Carnegie's advice here teaches us to think from the other person's point of view. What do they want? What motivates them? How can your request help them achieve their goals? When you answer these questions, you are more likely to get cooperation and goodwill. Let me share a real-life example. A sales manager once struggled with a team that was not motivated. Instead of pushing harder, the manager sat down and asked each member what their personal goals were. Some wanted more time off, others wanted recognition, and some wanted skill development. By tailoring rewards and responsibilities to these wants, the manager inspired the team to work harder and enjoy their work. To summarize, this part teaches 3 crucial lessons. Do not criticize, condemn, or complain. It usually backfires and damages relationships. Give honest and sincere appreciation. People crave to feel important and valued. Arouse in others an eager want. Appeal to what others desire, not just what you want. When you practice these ideas, you create connections based on respect, kindness, and understanding. People feel good around you because you make them feel good about themselves. This is the foundation of winning friends and influencing people. It is not about manipulation or tricks. It is about genuinely caring for others, understanding their needs, and communicating in a way that respects their feelings. As you go about your day, try this simple exercise. Think about one person you interact with regularly. Notice how you talk to them. Do you criticize or complain? Do you express appreciation for something they did? Could you appeal to their desires if you want to ask a favor? By making small changes in how you treat others, you can build stronger friendships, better teamwork, and more positive influence. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. Remember, everyone wants to feel important and appreciated. Make that your starting point. Part 2. In the first part, we learned how powerful it is to avoid criticism and instead offer sincere appreciation. Now, Dale Carnegie takes us deeper into understanding how to genuinely connect with people by showing real interest in them. One of the most important truths in building friendships and influencing others is this: people care deeply about themselves. Their own thoughts, feelings, dreams, and worries are at the center of their world. If you want to build trust and friendship, the key is to focus on what matters most to the other person, their interests and their experiences, not just your own. Carnegie famously said, "You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you." This may sound simple, but it goes against much of how we naturally behave. We often think about what we want to say or what we want from a conversation. But true connection begins when we turn the spotlight onto others. Imagine meeting someone at a party or networking event. If you talk only about yourself or your achievements, the other person might listen politely, but they probably will not feel a strong connection. However, if you ask them genuine questions about their life, listen carefully, and show real curiosity, they will feel valued and respected. This makes a huge difference. Let us consider an example from everyday life. Think about a friend who is going through a difficult time. Maybe they lost a job or are struggling with health issues. If you approach them and say, "Let me tell you about my problems," or "Here is what I think you should do," you risk sounding insensitive or self-centered. But if instead you say, "How are you feeling? What has been most challenging for you?" you invite them to share. Listening with empathy allows them to feel supported and understood. Carnegie teaches that listening is one of the highest forms of respect you can offer someone. Yet, many people fail at this. They listen only to reply or wait for their turn to talk. Genuine listening means putting aside your own thoughts and fully focusing on the other person's words, tone, and body language. This is not always easy. Our minds are often distracted or thinking about what to say next. But practicing active listening builds trust and opens doors for deeper connection. When people feel heard, they open up more, share more, and like you more. Another way to connect with others is by remembering and using people's names. Carnegie called a person's name the sweetest sound in any language. It is a simple yet powerful way to show respect and make someone feel important. Have you noticed how you feel when someone remembers your name? It creates a personal bond instantly. On the other hand, forgetting or mispronouncing a name can create distance or even offense. That is why Carnegie advises making a conscious effort to learn and use names whenever you meet someone. Imagine you are at a business meeting, and the speaker addresses you by name. Suddenly, you feel seen and recognized. It feels warmer and more personal. That small effort can turn a cold interaction into a warm relationship. Carnegie also explains the power of encouraging others to talk about themselves. People love to talk about their experiences, opinions, and feelings. When you ask open-ended questions that invite stories, you give people a chance to express themselves and feel valued. For example, instead of asking, "Did you like the movie?" you might ask, "What did you think about the movie?" or "Which part stood out most for you?" These questions show interest and invite deeper conversation. A real-life story Carnegie shares is about Charles Schwab, a famous steel magnate. Schwab was known for his ability to connect with people and get them to do their best. One of his secrets was to get people talking about their own achievements and ideas. This made them feel important and motivated to work harder. In addition to listening and remembering names, Carnegie highlights the importance of making the other person feel genuinely important and doing it sincerely. False flattery is easy to spot and resented, but honest appreciation touches the heart. If you notice something admirable or valuable about a person, tell them. Maybe it is their kindness, their skill, their humor, or the way they handled a difficult situation. Let them know you see and appreciate it. People long for recognition. When you give it freely and sincerely, you create goodwill and friendship. To sum up this part, the key principles are: show genuine interest in others by listening and asking questions. Remember and use people's names, they are central to identity. Encourage others to talk about themselves and their experiences. Make others feel important sincerely and specifically. These ideas are practical and easy to apply but can transform your relationships. When people feel that you care about them as individuals, they will naturally warm up to you and want to cooperate. Try this today. The next time you meet someone, focus entirely on them. Ask about their interests, listen actively, and remember their name. Notice how it changes the energy of the conversation. As you practice these skills, you will find that winning friends is not about being loud or dominant. It is about being genuinely curious, respectful, and kind. These qualities open doors and build bridges in every part of life. Part 3. In the previous parts, we discovered how avoiding criticism, offering sincere appreciation, and showing genuine interest in others can build strong connections. Now, Dale Carnegie focuses on one of the most important principles of influencing people: how to make others like you instantly. At first, this may sound like a trick or a superficial skill. But Carnegie's advice is rooted deeply in understanding human nature and respect. He tells us that the key to making people like us is by being genuinely interested in them and treating them with kindness and warmth. One of the simplest and most powerful ways to create instant rapport is to smile. Yes, a smile. It is something you do naturally when you are happy or pleased. But many people underestimate how contagious and meaningful a genuine smile can be. When you smile at someone, it immediately creates a friendly atmosphere. It signals that you are approachable and kind. Think about the last time someone smiled at you warmly. Did it not make you feel welcomed and comfortable? A smile is a universal language of friendship. Carnegie tells a story of a business executive who was known for his cheerful demeanor. People would say, "I do not know what it is about him, but being around him makes me feel good." That feeling came from his genuine smile and warmth, which attracted people effortlessly. But a smile must be sincere. A forced or fake smile can be noticed easily and can feel insincere or even creepy. Genuine smiles come from kindness and genuine interest in others. Another key principle is to remember and use a person's name. As we learned earlier, a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound. Using someone's name in conversation shows that you value and respect them. Imagine meeting a stranger who greets you with your name and remembers it throughout the conversation. That simple act builds trust and makes the interaction personal and special. On the other hand, forgetting a name or calling someone by the wrong name can create awkwardness or offense. Carnegie emphasizes that remembering names is a skill anyone can develop with practice and effort. When you meet someone new, try repeating their name silently to yourself and associating it with an image or a word. This helps fix it in your memory. Now, let us talk about being a good listener. Carnegie argues that the best way to win friends is to be genuinely interested in what others have to say. People love to talk about themselves, their experiences, and their feelings. When you listen attentively and encourage them to share, you give them a gift. Good listening means more than just waiting for your turn to speak. It means focusing fully on the other person, showing empathy, and responding thoughtfully. Nod, smile, and ask questions that invite deeper sharing. Carnegie shares examples of people who were masters at listening and how it made them popular and influential. One man once said, "If I were to sum up the secret of my success in a word, it would be listening." When people feel heard, they feel respected and valued. Next is the principle of talking in terms of the other person's interests. Imagine you meet someone new and jump straight into talking about your hobbies or opinions without considering theirs. You might lose their attention quickly. But if you find out what they enjoy and steer the conversation toward that, You build instant rapport. For example, if someone loves gardening, asking about their favorite plants or sharing a gardening tip makes them feel understood and appreciated. Carnegie encourages us to be curious about others' passions and interests and use that knowledge to create meaningful conversations. This effort shows that you care about them as individuals, not just as acquaintances. Finally, Carnegie explains the power of making the other person feel important and doing it sincerely. People want to feel needed and appreciated. When you express genuine respect for their qualities or achievements, you build goodwill and friendship. However, it is crucial that this feeling of importance is sincere. Insincere praise or flattery is transparent and can damage relationships. Look for real strengths or positive actions to recognize honestly. For example, if a coworker solved a difficult problem, compliment their skill and effort. If a friend is generous or kind, acknowledge it. These small acknowledgments create warmth and trust. Let me share a story Carnegie includes about a famous conductor. This conductor was known for his ability to bring out the best in his orchestra. He treated every musician with respect and appreciation, making each feel important to the overall performance. This attitude inspired the musicians to give their best, resulting in beautiful music. To summarize, the key ideas in this part are: smile genuinely to create a friendly and welcoming atmosphere. Remember and use people's names to show respect and build connection. Be a good listener by showing real interest in what others say. Talk about what interests the other person to engage them deeply. Make others feel important sincerely and specifically. By practicing these principles, you not only make friends more easily but also build a foundation of trust and warmth that influences people positively. As you continue on your journey to win friends and influence people, remember that these are not tricks but sincere ways of showing respect and kindness. People respond naturally to warmth and genuine interest. Try this today: smile at someone you meet, learn and use their name, and ask about their interests. You might be surprised how these simple acts open doors to new friendships and deeper connections. Part 4. In the previous parts, we explored the importance of sincere appreciation, genuine interest, smiling, listening, and making others feel important. Now, Dale Carnegie introduces a powerful and timeless principle that can change the way you communicate and influence people: how to handle people without making them feel offended or resentful. One of the biggest challenges in relationships, whether personal or professional, is giving feedback or expressing disagreement without damaging trust or hurting feelings. Most people dread criticism and often react with anger or withdrawal. This reaction makes problems worse instead of solving them. Carnegie teaches us that the secret to successful communication is to avoid direct criticism and condemnation. Instead, he suggests approaching situations with tact, kindness, and understanding. Imagine you have a colleague who makes frequent mistakes. If you go to them and say, "You are careless and always mess up," you will likely face resistance or hurt feelings. That approach puts people on the defensive and makes cooperation difficult. But if you start by highlighting something positive about the person or their work, and then gently point out the mistake, you create a more open atmosphere. For example, "I really appreciate your hard work on the project. I noticed a few details that might need correction. Let's look at them together." This way, you show respect and avoid blaming. Carnegie emphasizes the power of beginning with praise and honest appreciation when offering criticism. This method softens the blow and makes the other person more receptive. Another important technique is to call attention to mistakes indirectly. Instead of directly accusing someone, you can ask questions that guide them to see the problem themselves. For example, "Do you think there might be another way to approach this?" or "What do you think about this part?" This approach encourages reflection without confrontation. Carnegie shares a story about a supervisor who needed to correct an employee's behavior. Rather than ordering or blaming, he asked, "How do you feel your last report went?" This question opened a conversation that led the employee to recognize the mistakes and take responsibility. People respond better when they feel respected and trusted. By involving them in the process, you build cooperation instead of conflict. Carnegie also warns against telling people they are wrong outright. Even if you are certain, saying you are wrong can offend pride and make the other person defensive. Instead, try to find common ground or gently suggest alternatives. For example, instead of "You are wrong about this," you might say, "I see your point, but have you considered this perspective?" This shows respect for their opinion and invites dialogue. Another powerful principle is to admit your own mistakes quickly and clearly when you are wrong. This act of humility disarms others and creates goodwill. People respect those who can admit their faults rather than denying or blaming others. Carnegie shares the example of a great leader who, when criticized, responded by saying, "You may be right. I will look into it." This honest admission not only diffused tension but earned admiration. Furthermore, Carnegie suggests beginning conversations in a friendly way. A warm greeting, a smile, or a kind word sets the tone for positive interaction. When people feel welcomed and respected, they are more open to listening and cooperating. Consider how you approach difficult conversations. If you start with anger or frustration, you create barriers. But if you start kindly, even if you need to deliver bad news, you keep the door open. Another effective technique is to get the other person saying yes immediately by focusing on points of agreement. This creates a positive momentum. When people agree early in a conversation, they are more likely to continue agreeing. For example, if you are negotiating, start by highlighting shared goals or values before discussing differences. This approach makes the other person feel heard and respected. Carnegie tells a story of a salesperson who used this principle successfully. Instead of confronting objections, he began by agreeing with the customer's concerns and then gradually guided the conversation toward a solution. Finally, Carnegie teaches the importance of letting the other person do most of the talking. People love to express their ideas and feelings. When you listen more than you speak, you gain insight and build rapport. When you encourage others to talk about themselves and their ideas, you make them feel valued and understood. This strengthens relationships and opens doors for influence. To summarize the key lessons in this part: avoid criticism and condemnation, it breeds resentment. Begin with honest praise before pointing out mistakes. Call attention to errors indirectly through questions. Admit your own mistakes openly and quickly. Start conversations in a friendly and warm way. Get early agreement to build positive momentum. Let others talk more, listen actively and attentively. Applying these principles helps you handle difficult situations with grace and effectiveness. Instead of creating conflict, you build cooperation. Instead of offending, you inspire goodwill. Try reflecting on your recent difficult conversations. How might you approach them differently using these ideas? Small changes in tone and approach can make a big difference. Remember, the goal is not to win arguments but to win people, to influence them positively while preserving their dignity and respect. Part 5. In the previous part, we learned how to handle people without offending them, how to give feedback kindly, admit our own mistakes, and create positive conversations. Now, Dale Carnegie takes us further into influencing others by showing how to genuinely inspire people to change without causing resistance. One of the biggest challenges in leadership and relationships is encouraging others to improve or change behavior. Many people resist change because it feels uncomfortable or threatening. When we tell someone they must change or that they are wrong, they often push back. Carnegie teaches that the best way to motivate change is to appeal to the other person's desires and show respect for their viewpoint. Instead of ordering or demanding, we should gently guide and inspire. A powerful method he shares is to begin by praising the other person's good qualities or achievements before suggesting change. This approach opens hearts and lowers defenses. People want to feel appreciated before they are willing to listen. For example, a teacher who praises a student's effort and then suggests ways to improve will be more effective than one who only points out mistakes. The student feels encouraged, not discouraged. Another key idea is to call attention to mistakes indirectly by asking questions that lead people to see the problem for themselves. For instance, instead of saying, "You are doing this wrong," ask, "Have you thought about trying it this way, or what do you think could improve here?" This invites reflection without blame. Carnegie shares a story about a manager who needed to correct an employee's approach. Instead of criticizing directly, he asked, "How do you think the last report went?" This question allowed the employee to evaluate their own work and decide to improve. People are more open to change when they come to conclusions themselves rather than being told what to do. Another important principle is to talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. When you admit your own faults, you lower the other person's resistance. It shows humility and makes them more willing to listen. Carnegie tells the story of a great leader who would say, "I have made my share of mistakes," before suggesting corrections. This honest approach builds trust and respect. In addition, Carnegie emphasizes the power of asking questions instead of giving direct orders. When you ask, "Could you try this approach," instead of "Do this," people feel involved and respected. They have ownership of the solution. This method increases cooperation and motivation. He also advises to let the other person save face. Sometimes, people make mistakes or fail. If you want to maintain a good relationship and influence, do not embarrass or shame them. Instead, be tactful and focus on the future. For example, if an employee misses a deadline, instead of saying, "You failed," say, "Let's work together to meet the next deadline." This keeps the person's dignity intact and encourages improvement. Carnegie shares a story about a military leader who was skilled at letting people save face even when correcting them. This approach kept morale high and loyalty strong. Another key to inspiring change is to praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. People crave encouragement. When you recognize progress, no matter how small, it motivates continued effort. For example, if a student improves their handwriting, compliment the improvement even if it is not perfect. This positive reinforcement helps build confidence and habit. Carnegie also stresses the importance of giving others a fine reputation to live up to. When you express confidence in someone's abilities and character, they strive to meet those expectations. For example, telling an employee, "I know you are capable of great work," challenges them to live up to that praise. People want to be seen as good and competent, and when you highlight that, they often rise to the occasion. Finally, he suggests encouraging others by making mistakes seem easy to correct. People fear failure because they think it is permanent or difficult to fix. When you show that errors are normal and can be overcome, they are more willing to try. For instance, saying, "Everyone makes mistakes at first, you will improve with practice," reduces fear and encourages action. To summarize, the key principles in this part are: begin with honest praise before suggesting change. Call attention to mistakes indirectly through questions. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Let others save face and avoid embarrassment. Praise every improvement, no matter how small. Give others a reputation to live up to. Encourage by showing mistakes are easy to correct. Applying these ideas creates a positive environment for growth. Instead of resistance, people feel motivated and respected. Instead of resentment, there is cooperation and goodwill. Try this approach next time you want to suggest change. Start with praise, ask questions, and encourage improvement. Notice how it changes the response you receive. Remember, true influence comes from respect, kindness, and genuine belief in the other person's potential. Part 6. In the previous parts, we have seen how kindness, sincere appreciation, and gentle guidance can help us build strong relationships and encourage positive change. Now, Dale Carnegie turns to a powerful skill that can dramatically improve your ability to influence others: how to genuinely see things from another person's point of view. One of the biggest reasons people fail to connect or influence is because they focus only on their own perspective. We often believe that our own opinions are the right ones and try to convince others to agree. But Carnegie teaches us that true influence comes when we understand and respect the other person's viewpoint even if we disagree. Imagine two people arguing. Each wants to prove they are right and the other is wrong. The conversation becomes heated, and no one listens. This kind of interaction destroys relationships and makes cooperation impossible. Instead, Carnegie advises that you try honestly to see things from the other person's angle. Ask yourself, why does this person feel this way? What are their fears, hopes, or reasons? When you put yourself in their shoes, you gain empathy and insight. This does not mean you have to agree with everything. It means you respect their feelings and try to understand their reasoning. Carnegie shares a story about a diplomat who was able to resolve conflicts because he carefully listened and acknowledged the other side's concerns. This approach opened the door for compromise and peace. Another powerful truth is that people want to feel understood and appreciated for their viewpoint. When you recognize their feelings and ideas, even if you disagree, they are more willing to listen to you. For example, if a friend has a different opinion on politics or religion, instead of arguing or dismissing, try saying, "I see why you feel that way," or "That is an interesting perspective." This kind of response creates respect and keeps the conversation open. Carnegie also emphasizes the importance of showing respect for others' opinions. Never say you're wrong outright. Such words close minds and hearts. Instead, gently express your own views and invite dialogue. For example, "I may see it differently, but I appreciate your point of view," or "That's a good point. Here is another way to look at it." This invites cooperation rather than conflict. Another key to influence is to admit your own mistakes quickly and clearly. As we learned earlier, humility disarms hostility and builds trust. When you say, "I was wrong" or "I made a mistake," people respect your honesty. Carnegie tells a story about a famous scientist who admitted his errors openly, which made others willing to consider his ideas seriously. Being able to admit faults shows strength, not weakness. Carnegie also advises to begin in a friendly way even when dealing with difficult issues. A warm greeting or kind word can soften resistance and prepare the ground for positive interaction. He shares the example of a manager who would start meetings with sincere praise or casual conversation before addressing problems. This approach made employees more receptive and cooperative. Another important technique is to get the other person saying yes early and often. People like to agree. When you find points of agreement at the start, it creates positive momentum. They become more open to your ideas later. For instance, if you want to persuade a colleague, start by agreeing on shared goals or values before discussing differences. This builds a foundation of trust and cooperation. Carnegie explains that this yes ladder technique is used by successful negotiators and salespeople to lead people toward agreement without conflict. Finally, he teaches the power of letting others feel that the idea is theirs. People are more motivated to act on ideas they believe they came up with themselves. If you can guide someone to your conclusion by asking questions and encouraging their thinking, they will embrace the idea wholeheartedly. For example, instead of telling a team member exactly what to do, ask questions like, "What do you think is the best approach?" or "How would you handle this challenge?" This encourages ownership and creativity. To summarize the key principles in this part: see things honestly from the other person's point of view. Show respect for others' opinions, never say you're wrong. Admit your own mistakes openly and quickly. Begin conversations in a friendly and warm way. Get early agreement by focusing on shared values or goals. Let others feel that the idea is theirs by guiding them gently. These principles create an atmosphere of respect and cooperation. They help you influence people without conflict or resentment. Try this today. Next time you disagree with someone, pause and think about their perspective. Express respect for their views, admit your own mistakes if any, and look for points of agreement. Notice how it changes the interaction. Remember, influence is not about forcing others but about guiding them with respect, empathy, and kindness. Part 7. Throughout this journey in how to win friends and influence people, we have explored the essential principles of building strong relationships, communicating effectively, and influencing others positively. In this final part, Dale Carnegie focuses on practical ways to become a leader who inspires and motivates others not through authority or force, but through understanding, encouragement, and respect. Leadership is not about commanding or controlling people. True leaders win loyalty and cooperation by making others feel valued and important. Carnegie emphasizes that the best leaders understand human nature deeply and apply the same principles we have learned: appreciation, empathy, and sincere interest in others. One of the most important leadership skills Carnegie highlights is giving honest and sincere praise. Good leaders notice the efforts and achievements of their team members and recognize them openly. This recognition boosts morale, builds confidence, and motivates people to keep performing at their best. Think of a coach who praises a player's effort after a tough game, regardless of the outcome. This encouragement helps the player improve and feel part of a supportive team. On the other hand, leaders who only criticize or ignore good work create fear and resentment. Carnegie shares stories of great leaders who made it a habit to find something good in every person they led. By focusing on strengths rather than weaknesses, these leaders inspired loyalty and excellence. Another vital leadership quality is giving constructive feedback without hurting pride. As we learned earlier, criticism should be handled delicately with praise, indirect suggestions, and encouragement. Leaders who master this skill help people grow without alienating them. Carnegie tells of a supervisor who would begin feedback sessions by acknowledging the employee's efforts and asking questions about how they could improve. This respectful approach made employees more willing to accept guidance. A powerful leadership tool is to ask questions rather than give orders. When leaders involve others in decision-making, they build a sense of ownership and responsibility. Asking, "What do you think is the best solution?" or "How would you approach this challenge?" encourages creativity and commitment. This approach also shows respect for people's intelligence and experience, which strengthens trust. Carnegie stresses the importance of letting people save face even when correcting mistakes. Leaders who shame or humiliate their team members lose respect and cooperation. Instead, they should be tactful and focus on positive outcomes. For example, if a project fails, a good leader might say, "What can we learn from this experience to do better next time?" This attitude fosters a culture of growth and continuous improvement. Another key to inspiring people is to give them a fine reputation to live up to. When you express confidence in someone's abilities and character, they strive to meet those expectations. For instance, telling a team member, "I know you are capable of handling this responsibility," challenges them to rise to the occasion. People want to be seen as competent and trustworthy, and when you highlight these qualities, they often deliver. Carnegie also encourages leaders to praise improvements sincerely and frequently. Even small steps forward deserve recognition. This positive reinforcement builds momentum and confidence. Moreover, great leaders know how to inspire enthusiasm by showing genuine excitement and belief in their team's goals. Enthusiasm is contagious. When a leader believes in a vision, others are more likely to join with energy and commitment. Finally, Carnegie reminds us that the best way to influence people is through kindness, respect, and genuine interest in their well-being. Leaders who remember that everyone wants to feel important and appreciated create environments where people thrive. To summarize the key leadership lessons from this part: give honest and sincere praise to motivate and build confidence. Offer constructive feedback tactfully and with encouragement. Ask questions to involve others and build ownership. Let people save face and focus on positive outcomes. Give others a fine reputation to live up to. Praise every improvement, no matter how small. Inspire enthusiasm through genuine belief and excitement. Lead with kindness, respect, and genuine interest in people. As you finish this audiobook, reflect on how you can apply these leadership principles in your own life. Whether at work, at home, or in your community, leading with empathy and respect creates lasting bonds and positive change. Remember the words of Dale Carnegie: success is not about titles or power but about how well you treat and understand people. When you win friends and influence others with kindness and sincerity, you open the door to endless opportunities and meaningful relationships. Thank you for joining Books Arena on this journey through how to win friends and influence people. May these timeless principles guide you to stronger friendships, better communication, and inspiring leadership. Thank you for listening to this audiobook from Books Arena. We hope these timeless lessons from How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie inspire you to build stronger relationships, communicate more effectively, and lead with kindness and respect. Remember, success in life often begins with how well you connect with others. By practicing appreciation, understanding, and genuine interest, you can influence people positively and create lasting friendships. If you found this audiobook helpful, please consider subscribing to Books Arena for more insightful book summaries and audiobooks. Your support means a lot to us and helps us bring you quality content. Until next time, keep growing, keep connecting, and keep winning friends in all areas of your life.